With me we have Mr. Selo Hatang, Executive at Strategic Sponsorships G20 Legacy Knowledge Initiative. Good day, sir, and welcome to Radio Islam International.
Thank you very much.
Tell us about who you represent and what your thoughts are of how the summit is unfolded thus far.
Well, we are an institution that will be running the thing, what happens post the G20. We're looking at the legacy of the G20. We're building a hub that would then be this crucible that would have the documents, all the archives that you need of what transpired. This is to ensure that we don't reduce this into a two-day event, but actually a moment in history. To say the continent put its best foot forward, South Africa put her best foot forward. And what do we do to ensure that this is not just a moment also about talking, but what needs to happen afterwards? So there will be a tracking system that would have that ensures that we follow through on some of the things, that undertakings that have been made out of the G20. So for us, it's not looking at G20 as in G20 2025. We're looking at G20 2050. So what happens in the next 25 years? So that's what we...
So I think that everyone would agree about the importance of tracking, right? Who do you track for? Is it purely for academic purposes, or will it be able to ensure that whilst the declaration is not binding, and that's the nature of the G20, but accurate tracking will kind of put some pressure on the G20 countries to ensure that they implement what they committed to?
Precisely. So it's a combination of both. So we have universities that have signed on, and these universities in South Africa would be working with them to ensure that they help us with monitoring. So that monitoring work would be done. So it's a research-based work that would be done. But also that accountability is, even though it's non-binding, but you still say, hey, remember, this was the promise. These were the promises we made. When it comes to just energy, what does it mean for a merchant who's still dependent on coal? What does it mean for that merchant? When they shut down their operation, what happens? So what are the alternatives that people then be using? And that's what we need to then be inculcating. But through this system, you are then able to say, we've moved the needle in terms of understanding what global climate change is doing to us and all the elements that then needs to go in there.
So I'm assuming that some degree of tracking may have already been taking place, if not by you guys, but by others globally, right? In terms of when the G20 summit got escalated from a meeting of finance ministers to that of the heads of state in around 2008. What's their track record been like then, since then, in terms of how percentage of implementation in terms of what is committed?
You know, one of the projects that we are aware of is Canada. Canada has, I think it's the University of Ontario, which has a report every year that says, this is what was promised, this is how far we are. And I think Brazil started the same thing. That's why we want to then do the same for this moment in South Africa. So I think of course, every one of them would have its own measures, the metrics that we're then applying across the board. That's why we then need universities to then ensure that. So the track record, unfortunately, it's one that's uneven. In some instances, you have these undertakings, and then the next president who comes in, they have a different agenda to the previous one. So it's an unfortunate thing that happens with these systems.
So are you tracking globally or just for South Africa?
It will be global. So it would be as per the global measurements that are there. But the interest and focus will mainly be, what does it mean for South Africans? What does it mean for the continent?
Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you.